Hello and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha television. I'm Sana Khan and you're watching our election special Verdict 2012. First up, a look at the top stories. Gujarat all set for polls. 87 of 192 constituencies to go to polls on Thursday in the first of the two-phase polling. EC makes all arrangements for free and fair polls. Gujarat Chief Electoral Officer will be monitoring voting through live web streaming from polling booths. The EC sends notice to the Centre for announcing raising of LPG cap to 9 cylinders. Veerappa Moily says this announcement is no violation of poll code. And it's party time for billionaires in poll-bound Gujarat. A large number of business tycoons jump into electoral arena, a 16% rise since 2007. And now let's get to the details. Gujarat is all set for the first phase of polling. Thursday's polling will be held in 87 of the 192 constituencies, and tight security arrangements have been made for free and fair polling. Here's a report.
The first phase of polling covers 87 seats spread over Saurashtra, South Gujarat and South Central Gujarat. Over 10.81 million voters will decide the fate of 846 candidates. The BJP has pitted candidates in all the 87 seats in the first phase, while Congress has 84 candidates. The GPP has 83 candidates in this phase. There are 383 independent candidates fighting the first phase of polls. There are 46 women candidates in the 87 seats spread over 15 districts. The first phase of polls will be an acid test for Gujarat Parivartan Party President Keshubhai Patel and will decide his political future. Out of the 87 assembly seats going to polls, 54 are in Saurashtra, the stronghold of the GPP. The result of the first phase will also be important for the BJP and Congress, as the fate of many of their senior leaders will be decided by the electorate. 10 ministers of the present BJP government will face the electorate in the first phase. Among them are Finance Minister Bajubhai Vala, Law and Agriculture Minister Dilip Sanghani, Fishery Minister Purushottam Solanki and Forest Minister Mangubhai Patel. In the Congress camp, Gujarat Pradesh Congress Committee President Arjun Modvadia and Leader of the Opposition in the Gujarat Assembly, Shakti Singh Gohil, will have their destinies locked in the electronic voting machines. The Election Commission has set up 21,261 polling booths in 87 constituencies. Out of these, 6,903 have been declared as sensitive. A large number of central forces will oversee the polling process. As part of the security measures, Gujarat-Rajasthan border has been sealed. The second phase of polling is on 17th of December. The counting of votes will be taken up on the 20th of December. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And joining me live from Ahmedabad is my colleague Vishal Daya. He's been keeping a tab on all the election preparations that have been going on for the past few days. Vishal, elections in Gujarat, not only the most exciting one of all the states in the country, but also could be a little sensitive as well. Give us a sense of what are the preparations in the run-up to tomorrow's polling.
Well, the preparations are pretty much in place, and it seems the Election Commission was very well prepared for the first phase of polling in the state of Gujarat tomorrow. 87 seats, we're being told by the Chief Electoral Officer of Gujarat that everything is in place, be it man or machines. When we talk about machines, EVM, not only EVM machines, but also the kind of technology which the Election Commission in Gujarat is using. Today, we saw it with our own eyes that the Chief Electoral Officer of Gujarat was, personally monitoring, sitting in an office, was personally monitoring the dispatch of polling parties from all the 87 constituencies to different polling stations, and that was being monitored through live web streaming being done from those dispatch centers. And that is one facility which will be used by the Election Commission tomorrow as well, specifically on almost 30% of the polling stations which are considered sensitive or hypersensitive by the Election Commission, critical and vulnerable. That's what the terminology the Chief Electoral Officer uses out here for those polling stations. Apart from that, yes, politically speaking, it is going to be really interesting elections this time around in the state of Gujarat, be it the first phase or the second phase. In first phase specifically, as our report clearly pointed out, Saurashtra region is the one where all eyes will be, because 54 seats of Saurashtra region are going to polls tomorrow, and that's considered to be a stronghold of Keshubhai Patel and his party GPP. Both Congress and BJP would be very keen to go ahead and
Vishal. In fact, my
next
question was just about a couple of key contests that we'll be witnessing. You mentioned the Saurashtra region. Now, Porbandar, Gondal, Visavdar, Bhavnagar, Dholaji. It's interesting to see how the contest is this time around not just between the Congress and the BJP, but the GPP in many of the seats in the first phase.
Well, yes, definitely. If you look at the kind of candidates whose fate will be decided tomorrow by the electorate of Gujarat, Keshubai Patel, the GPP's chief, Godhan Chadapia from GPP, another important leader of his party. If you look at Congress, then Shakti Singh Goyal is locked in a very interesting fight with Purushottam Solanki on the Bhavnagar rural seat. Very interesting and keen contest to watch. Purushottam Solanki is, is a minister in the Modi government. He's been under a lot of questions being in charge of the ministry. Shakti Singh Goyal is a senior leader of the Congress. Apart from that, there are several other senior leaders of BJP, Congress who are in the fray in these elections. And as I was saying, all eyes seem to be focused in tomorrow's polling on Saurashtra region. 54 seats, very crucial for both BJP, for Congress, as well as for GPP and Keshubai himself to ensure that he establishes himself once again in the state politics.
All right, Vishal, I request you to please stay on with us. I'll be coming back to you shortly. But before that, my colleague Vishal Daya also caught up with Anita Karwal, who is the Chief Electoral Officer in Gujarat, on the poll preparations. Have a look.
The first phase of polling in Gujarat will take place tomorrow morning. Will start sharp tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We have with us the person in charge of the entire electoral process in the state, the Chief Electoral Officer of Gujarat, Ms. Anita Karwal. Ma'am, welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. First and foremost question, how are the preparations for the first phase of polling going on?
Well, the preparations are almost complete. Our dispatch of polling parties, which began today in the morning, is about to be completed in the next couple of hours. Logistics are in place, security is in place, people are in place, EVM is in place, man and machine, everything in place.
What are the security arrangements? How many police personnel have been deployed, and as far as EVMs and polling stations are concerned, how many of them, figures-wise?
Well, there is a mix of state police and central police forces in all the 14 plus districts. Actually, it's 14 and a half districts which are going to polls, and sufficient number of police forces will be deployed at all the polling stations. And the arrangements are such that the police forces of the state will be moving along with the polling personnel today for dispatch purposes, while the central police forces would have already reached the polling stations in the morning.
Any additional number of, what kind of additional number of police personnel, security personnel have you guys sought from the center in terms of central police forces?
Actually, that is a number which we keep to ourselves. It should suffice to say that we have adequate and sufficient number of forces.
And when it comes to sensitive and hypersensitive polling booths, what's the figure out here? How many of them sensitive, hypersensitive, and what are the security arrangements at those particular places?
Well, approximately 30% of our polling stations have been identified as either vulnerable or critical. That is the terminology we use now. Critical polling stations, it is based on statistics, on high turnout, low turnout, re-poll areas, etc. And vulnerability is a mapping which we have been doing for the past 3 months to locate areas where we feel that people out of fear or intimidation may not find it very easy to vote. So these are the areas which we map, and then we do a very concentrated preventive action in these areas to ensure that these people come out and vote without fear. In such areas, we have ensured deployment of central police forces, we have ensured deployment of micro-observers, videography. We are even webcasting on poll day directly from the polling stations, which we will be able to view, the commission will be able to view, the local authorities will be able to view.
You spoke about webcasting, ma'am. One very unique feature which I encountered this time around is that even the dispatch of polling parties, which is taking place today, is being webcast, is live. Can you please tell us a little more about this?
Well, this is something which was the initiative of my DEOs, the district election officers. Today is the dispatch day. 87 ACs are dispatching their polling parties and machinery, that is EVM. And they have put this on what is called Ustream, that is a webcasting address, and we can see it live. I have been able to see live some of the districts, what they are doing today.
So that's a live web streaming, ensuring that you are completely in control and you can watch sitting right here in your office as to what exactly is happening when these polling parties are being dispatched. One last question is, it has been a very hectic campaign for the first phase of polling in Gujarat tomorrow. How do you rate the entire election campaign? Has it been peaceful? Any kind of, what kind of complaints you've received, specifically when it comes to paid news?
Well, complaints are of two kinds. One is the violation of the Model Code of Conduct, in which we have received over 850 to 900 complaints in the whole state. And there has been quick disposal, so it has had a very good impact. The second kind within the Model Code of Conduct is relating to expenditure, where also again very quick response from our side has ensured that there has been very strict and tight control on that. The second is paid news, as you mentioned, and we have been able to, till as of yesterday, find out almost 120 cases of paid news in the state in phase 1 and phase 2 put together.
Okay, but overall the polling, the campaigning has been peaceful in the first phase.
It has been peaceful in the first phase, absolutely.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So this was the Chief Electoral Officer of Gujarat, clearly pointing out that the preparations are pretty much in place. Man and machine both are on their way to ensure that there is a peaceful, free and fair polling tomorrow for the first phase in the state of Gujarat. Tomorrow, at least 1.81 crore voters will go ahead and cast their votes and seal the fate of 846 candidates in EVMs, which will be opened on 20th of December. With camera person Dinesh Rai, Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV in Gandhinagar, Gujarat.
So in Gujarat, from virtual campaigning to live web streaming of tomorrow's events, well, that's quite a new sort of technology that we'll be witnessing in the polls. Vishal Dahiya will be with us right after this very short break. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for staying with us. Now, there was intensive campaigning by all political parties for the first phase of polling in Gujarat. Top leaders of Congress and the BJP campaigned ahead of the polling, and several issues dominated during the campaign. Here's a look back.
The issue of development was the running theme during the campaign ahead of the elections in Gujarat. Leaders of the principal political parties, BJP and Congress, came up with their narrative on the issue in almost all the rallies addressed by them. Chief Minister Narendra Modi, seeking a third consecutive term in office, maintained that Gujarat had prospered during the last 10 years of his regime. Modi cited rise in investments to buttress his claim. But the Congress called Gujarat's development model lopsided. Its leaders maintained that only a certain section of the business class benefited, while the plight of the poor remained the same. The party even accused Modi of promoting crony capitalism. Water and power crisis also came up as major issues in the run-up to the polls. Water is particularly a major issue in Saurashtra region, which sends 54 legislators to the assembly. Modi's arch-rival and Gujarat Parivartan Party chief Keshubhai Patel harped on the issue as he tried to put the Modi government on the mat. Rajkot, the business centre of Saurashtra, receives piped water supply only for a few hours. Drought over successive years has destroyed crops in the region. The Narmada project has also not been able to take water to the drought-hit areas. Absence of irrigation facilities has led to resentment among the people. Prime Minister Manmohan Singh also set the pot boiling by charging the Modi government with playing divisive politics. The Chief Minister retorted by accusing the PM of falling for electoral politics. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let me go back to my colleague Vishal Dahiya joining us live right now from Ahmedabad. Vishal, we heard yesterday Narendra Modi attacking Rahul Gandhi and saying the Congress really doesn't have any one particular, poll issue this time around. But we haven't really seen that big, development plank be played upon by Narendra Modi like he has done in 2002, then in 2007. What, according to you, is happening as far as, one poll issue is concerned?
Well, clearly, development seems to be the core issue out here, because the BJP and its chief minister in the state, Narendra Modi, have been trying to go ahead and, paint a picture that he has been successful, his party has been successful in ensuring development in Gujarat, and more or less, most of the efforts of the Congress leaders in the campaign so far for the first phase and in areas which will go to the polls in second phase as well. Their effort have been more or less concentrated towards ensuring that towards countering rather Narendra Modi's argument on the development front. We have heard statements coming in from Congress leaders talking about phrases being given from them like crony capitalism, selective development, and this is something which is very evident in every election. There will be a war of words. There have been a war of words, charges and counter charges being traded by political parties between the ruling party and the main opposition, specifically in this case out here BJP and Congress. Also very interesting to see has been the region in and around Saurashtra, because Keshubai Patel is seen to be holding a lot of influence, a lot of sway over those 54 seats in Saurashtra which go to poll tomorrow. And the big question, as I was saying earlier, is whether or not Keshubai Patel will be able to go ahead and reach a reap a rich harvest because of the deficient rainfall in that region, because it's a more or less agrarian society in that particular area. Deficient rainfall, water shortage, these all have been major issues in and around seats of Saurashtra region, and whether or not the GPP or the Congress will be able to go ahead and turn the tables on BJP in that particular region will be really interesting to watch.
All right. Also, Vishal, Narendra Modi, Gujarat's longest serving chief minister, he's completely dominated Gujarat's political landscape ever since 2002. Now, this time around, factors like the GPP, you mentioned Keshubai Patel, the anti-incumbency factor, the near absence of, emotive communal issue, you think these are some of the major factors that could prove to be hurdles in Narendra Modi's way?
Well, definitely there are two factors which seem to be counting really big on the mind of Chief Minister Narendra Modi, though it's not visible, either in his body language or in his speeches. He's been a very interesting speech. He's given very interesting speeches all through his campaign for the first phase so far. And if you look at it analytically, then obviously Keshubai Patel forming his own party is something which is obviously a cause of concern for the BJP and the party strategy managers out there. Apart from that, obviously, one major reason would be that Narendra Modi this time around is seeking a third term as chief minister. Although he won in 2002, then he won in 2007. It has been more than 10 years since he has been in the seat of power out here in Gujarat. So obviously, he would go ahead and showcase the development, the kind of heights which the economy which is of the state has gone to, and the opposition would like to go ahead and point out the deficiencies in the entire work which has been done by the BJP government. But obviously anti-incumbency is going to be one factor. It's going to be really an uphill task to go ahead and seek win a third term consecutively when you have been in the power for more than 12 years.
Right, Vishal. So all in all, it's going to be a tough night, a sleepless night perhaps for many of those candidates who are contesting tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining me now and giving me all the latest inputs from your end. Well, with that, it's time to head into poll-bound Gujarat and talk about the billionaires over there. In fact, diamond merchants, dairy dons, textile tycoons and sugar barons, even other agricultural business magnates have jumped into the electoral battle like never before. A report on the Crorepati candidates.
Crorepati's in Gujarat seem to have been bitten by the political bug. Over 300 of the 1,666 candidates in the fray for the two-phase polling are Crorepatis. It's a 16% increase in the number of Crorepatis as compared to the 2007 elections. Nearly 37% of the candidates in the fray for the December 17th second phase polling are billionaires. Congress candidate from Sidhpur, Balwant Singh Chandan Singh Rajput, is the richest of the candidates. In his affidavit, he has declared assets worth 268 crore rupees. Rajput is among the top businessmen of the state. Congress candidate from Dabhoi, Chiman Bhai Patel, has assets worth 71 crore rupees. BJP candidate from Mansa, D.D. Patel, has declared wealth of 69 crore rupees. The average assets of Congress candidates is 7 crore 95 lakh rupees, while for the BJP it's 6 crore 40 lakh rupees. For NCP candidates, the average assets per candidate works out to be 1 crore 33 lakh rupees, and for Gujarat Parivartan Party, it's 1 crore 19 lakh rupees. In Surat, 27-year-old diamond jewellery manufacturer Harsh Sanghvi is the BJP candidate against Congress's 46-year-old fabric exporter Dhanpat Jain. With a big chunk of voters from the business community, the diamond tycoon is confident about his first shot at politics. The Congress has fielded rich textile merchant Dhanpat Jain against him. Many of the rich candidates are agri-businessmen who feel they know the pulse of the rural folk. Another politically powerful group comprises people involved in the dairy business and cooperatives. At least half a dozen candidates are active members of the Amul group of dairies, including the chairman and vice chairman of the state's Pioneer Kaira District Cooperative Milk Producers Union. The Amul network's members include over 31 lakh farmers. The chairman and vice chairman of the Kaira Union are candidates of the Congress, which expects to gain in all 14 constituencies in the two districts. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, moving on, after the cash transfer schemes, the centre is now facing the Election Commission's heat again on the issue of subsidised gas cylinders. The centre is mulling over response to Election Commission's notice following announcement by Petroleum Minister Veerappa Moily that the government plans to increase the number of LPG cylinders by 9 per connection in a year.
But at the same time, I am conscious. I would not have done anything without writing to Election Commission of India. I know, I am aware of it. I was in charge. I was the law minister. I know how the election commissions work and, should work. And nothing wrong if they are, sending that letter to me. I don't find fault with that.
Petroleum Minister Veerappa Moily came up with a clarification a day after his announcement on proposed increase in the number of subsidized cylinders drew the EC's flack. The minister said he had kept in mind the impending polls in Gujarat. The minister says the government's decision on the cylinders has nothing to do with the elections.
We are very conscious that we would not have moved an inch, without consulting the Election Commission of India or writing to them.
The BJP has protested against the government's decision. The party says it has been taken keeping in mind elections in Gujarat.
Despite the Congress party being shamed by the election on the cash subsidy scheme, where they were asked and a notice was served to them, the government again has repeated the folly just 2 days prior to the Gujarat elections. And it seems that the government has scanty regard for any constitutional body, be it the CAG or the Election Commission.
Only weeks back, the Election Commission had censured the government on the announcement of the cash transfer scheme. The Commission had said the announcement was avoidable in the view of the impending polls. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And time now to take a quick look at some more election stories from Gujarat in a quick wrap.
The Election Commission has made special arrangements for the physically challenged for the first phase of elections in Gujarat. For these candidates, polling booths have been set up on the ground floor. The Commission has also asked for ramps for such voters. Helplines have also been set up for them. The Election Commission has also made arrangements for free and fair polls in Gujarat. A toll-free number has been set up to receive poll-related complaints. Complainants can dial 1950 to lodge their complaints. Complaints can also be lodged online. A separate call centre has also been set up. The Election Commission has sent a notice to Gujarat DGP Chitranjan Singh for his statement. The DGP had said the deployment of a large number of security personnel can be explained only by the centre and Election Commission. The Commission has dubbed his statement as irresponsible. The Election Commission's Media Certification and Monitoring Committee has held BJP candidate Babu Jamna Das Patel guilty of inserting paid news. The panel said news reports in favour of Patel come in the category of paid news. The Commission has decided that expenditure of 30,000 rupees on such news will be included in Patel's poll expenses.
Well, that's all we have for you on today's show. Join our special coverage, which starts from 8 a.m. tomorrow on Gujarat's election phase 1 polling. Till then, goodbye.